Hello, Sounders. It's Mick here, with a bit of a cold. If I sound as though I've got a cold, it's because I've got a bit of a cold. This one's going to be quite brief because, well, wherever we were, we watched that game and it wasn't enjoyable. We were well beaten. And there's not much to celebrate, therefore, for me. But, Sounders, we have to face it. We were well beaten. And we all like a moan. But nobody likes moaners. So I'm going to pick on the moaners today with pleasure. Pompey fans who are moaners. It'll make me feel better after that heavy defeat, which that was against Ipswich. At 2-1, well, it could have been 3-4-0 on the afternoon, couldn't it? And we wouldn't have had cause for complaint. But it doesn't mean you can sound off and moan, as a minority in our fan base love to do. The moaning Minnies. Wait patiently for our inexperience at the level to be exposed, and then with pleasure they seize onto the problems that we have. A pleasure they get born of ignorance, in my book. They expleet it up in a big fat moan. We are behind Ipswich in our progress. Of that, there's no doubt, no argument. You all know, Sounders, they have back-to-back promotions out of the First Division into the Premiership in Kieran McKenna's first 4 years at Portman Road. And then, last season, they came back into the Championship with a swag bag, £40 million in parachute payments hanging over their shoulder. It helps, Sounders. They're a good club with a good manager, but that's a big whack of colloquy that doesn't come from the fans or come from the board or even come from transfer trading. It comes free if you're relegated. That's money that paid for the fine pair of midfield players they fielded who caused us so many problems at Portman Road on Saturday with pace, power and precision. One was Jens Kajust, whom I discover Ipswich are committed to paying £7.5 million for to Napoli should they gain promotion this season. So that's money they've got and they can offer. And then there's Azor Maturasiva, whom they got from Rennes. Rennes had previously given £16 million for him, and they weren't therefore likely to move him on to Ipswich for less than 16 million. I suspect it was more. There's money all over the Ipswich pitch if you look hard enough. Up front, there's a guy called Sindri Egeli, played against us, cost them £20 million from an unpronounceable, to me, Danish club in just in August. And he's very young, and he's got, so there are potential huge add-ons to that sum to make it one of the highest transfer fees ever paid by a Championship club. And they've already set out that record. They already had that in January, buying Jayden Philogene from Aston Villa, who scored a very good goal, didn't he, against us, and looks a player and a half. But he cost them £20 million. And then Pompey's Moaning Minnies look at these figures and say Pompey are trying to compete on the cheap. Blooming heck, actually, I don't think they do. I don't think they do actually look at those facts and figures. I don't think they have a clue about those numbers. Or they wouldn't be so silly as to moan like they do. They don't engage. The fact is, they don't engage with facts and figures, Minnies. Broad generalisations will do in their lives. What they think in those, sorry to say it, vacant heads. Someone's to blame and I'll have my say. It's the attitude. Fine. You are entitled to your say, of course. But it won't get the club very far, or the rest of us. We're in a process. We have to support the people running Pompey who intend to get us to the operating levels of Ipswich. We have to believe they will do it. Because at the moment they are. If they fail, they won't be with us. But at the moment they are. And moaning won't help them. Support will. You can't speed up the process. Although now and again we have to see signs of it. But I think we are. Perhaps not in the game on Saturday. It wasn't one to be judged on. As it was, Sounders, let's be honest, 2-1 wasn't a bad result. Could have been worse, as I've said. 5 changes, 2 enforced. But of course 5 changes didn't really help. It made it difficult. Let's go through the team. Bursic, no blame for me on Bursic for those goals. He looked more confident in handling and distribution than Ben Killip. I think that's the case. We should be pleased to have him as an alternative. I don't want to pile on Ben Killip because I know a lot of people have done, but he did look a little uncertain, a little uncomfortable. He's got to get over that. He can't present himself like that when he comes into the side. Bursic looks like a good alternative. Conor Ogilvie, in a defence, constantly having to marshal itself, and the ball was coming back to it all the time so rapidly. He was a resilience, a rock. Said it before many times, I suspect. I did notice that McKenna singled him out after the game for a respectful handshake. It was cool to see. Regan Poole got dragged out of position occasionally, but he stood up to be counted, Poole, and he showed his usual pace. He worked hard. Josh Knight, on debut, looked tired by the end, not surprisingly. And again, he worked hard. There's power in that man, in the air. He's an asset. But he did look uncomfortable, particularly towards the end of the game, uncomfortable with the pace of opposing young forwards. Zach Swanson had a hard afternoon, but he gave as good as he got, because that's what you get from Zach. There were a few chances for him to give much help to Segacic down the right. Andre Dazelle, I mean, the thing about Andre Dazelle is he gets booked quite early, quite often. I think, and I never like to see him get an early booking. It definitely stunts his game a bit. Inevitably, you're going to worry. You're going to worry. You're going to pull. You're going to not be as 100% as you really wish to be, because you just can't afford another one. And he was up against some fine midfield players, and he never got outclassed. Luke Leroux, another starting for the first time. Probably, it occurs to me, maybe, I doubt he's experienced such a challenging midfield opposition, and hopefully he will and can learn from it. Yang Minnies, I don't pronounce his name successfully, I know. Yang Minnies started with great determination. I liked him. I liked the way he started the game, the battling qualities he needs to utilise his skills. That's what he's obviously been told, and he tried to display that and was successful to some degree, particularly early on when his energy was high. His decision making needs to speed up. He, as so many people have commented, he had a decent chance in the first half that would have maybe not changed the game, but it would have given us huge heart to have scored, and it was a decent chance that was rapidly snuffed out. He was closed down, and it obviously wasn't easy, but he has to make more, he has to make more of those half chances occasionally. Maybe he will as time goes on. Adrian Segacic, I'm afraid, I thought he looked a little tired, and has done since his Australia trip. That may be a bit simplistic to say that, but that's what it seems to feel to me. Perhaps I'm making too much of it. He lacked support, but he certainly didn't pass on much to Colby Bishop. Mark Kuznovsky, I thought, did okay on this tough debut. He didn't show enough, but he looked as though he'd got stuff inside him. He's part of the project, of course, and we have to hope that it succeeds in the end. It will take time. That was his first start, I'm fairly sure, and he did run out of steam. Finally, there's Colby Bishop. He lacked support, but he obviously, he missed his mate Josh Murphy, that's for sure, but he was played very successfully by the Ipswich back two. I mean, Colby Bishop, you have to single out for special treatment. Clubs do. He usually manages to combat that. He didn't on this occasion. They took him out of the equation for much of the game. So on to the subs, and Marlon Pack, by far the star of those coming on. He looked ready to start again. He almost took advantage of Palmer's buccaneering goalkeeping advances to score a spectacular it would have been. And he did indeed score. A rare one with his head. He was made man of the match for Pompey for 30 minutes work. But he's having him back is a boost for the club, no doubt, and for all of us. Swift did okay. Bianchini, not so much. Mackenzie Kirk got valuable minutes of experience. Hayden Matthews, not so many. And so, Sounders, we come on to Watford. Becomes a big game. Let's hope, I hope, we get a result. Otherwise, the Minnies will be out again, probably in greater number and louder than ever, and I might have to go through this whole story again. And we don't want that, Albert. Sounders, play up, Pompey.